He doesn't belong here. He's just a kid, probably stealing. That's what the cashier, Melissa Thompson, whispered to her coworker, loud enough for everyone in line to hear. The boy, Cameron Ellis, 16, dressed in simple clothes, holding a high-end pair of headphones. The line froze, eyes turned, and then the accusations began. "Where did you get the money for that?" she snapped. He tried to explain, calmly, respectfully, but no one listened. Security was already on the way. They said he looked suspicious. They said he fit a description. They asked to see his bag, his pockets, even his phone. No evidence, no theft, no reason, but still, they wouldn't let him pay. "You can put that back," the cashier said. "We don't want trouble." Then, something happened. The boy pulled out a black card, not just any card, one reserved for the ultra-wealthy. Everyone froze. The cashier laughed. "Nice try, that can't be yours." He tapped the machine, approved, and not just for the headphones. The receipt kept printing. One pair of headphones, a basket of groceries, a stroller, a microwave, everything. "Wait, what is this?" a woman in line gasped. "He paid for all of us." The manager came running. Too late. The boy turned, quiet, calm. "I didn't do this to prove a point. I did it because I could." He walked out without another word. But that wasn't the end. 3 days later, a local journalist released footage from the store. The security audio, the whispers, the smirks, the racial profiling. The video went viral. And that's when the truth started unraveling. Because the boy, his name is Cameron Ellis, and his last public appearance was in a courtroom, not as a witness, not as a lawyer, but as a defendant. 6 months earlier, Cameron was convicted of felony fraud, allegedly used a stolen identity to access a trust fund, convicted in under 20 minutes. No physical evidence, no motive, a single testimony from a banker with a history of bias complaints. But now, Cameron's actions are raising questions, big ones. How could someone convicted of fraud still have that card? Why didn't the store system flag it? And most importantly, what did the original investigation miss? Because one detail didn't add up. Cameron wasn't even in the country the day the account was supposedly accessed. His passport proved it, but that evidence was never presented in court. So why did his lawyer stay silent? Why did the judge refuse a continuance to gather more evidence? Why did the jury never hear about the alibi? And who actually accessed the account? Because when Cameron walked out of that store, the bank called his mother. They said his account had been frozen again, but this time he hadn't used it. Someone else had, and that's when Cameron decided he wasn't just going to take this lying down, he was going to fight. He had proof, and he had a name. But before he could go public, he got a call from someone he never expected, the same banker who testified against him. What he said will change everything. The video footage went viral overnight. One moment, a black teen was being humiliated at the checkout. The next, he silently paid for everyone's groceries. No speech, no revenge, just a quiet swipe of his card and stunned silence. But what the cameras didn't show was what came next. The cashier, Melissa Thompson, didn't sleep that night. At first, she was humiliated, but as the clip spread, internet detectives began digging into her past, and what they found was unreal. Melissa had been a cashier at that store for 6 years, but 3 years ago, she was accused of stealing $7,200 from the safe. The case was dropped, no charges filed, and the footage disappeared. But that wasn't the shocking part. The teen in the video, his name was Caleb Brooks, and his father had once worked security at the same store until he was fired after calling out suspicious accounting errors in Melissa's department. Coincidence? That's what police said back then. But now, people were connecting the dots. Then came the real twist. A former assistant manager, anonymous at first, messaged the journalist on Twitter. They said they had a backup copy of the old security footage, the one that had gone missing. And in it, they claimed Melissa was clearly caught, taking envelopes of cash. That's when everything exploded. The footage was posted online, clear, unedited, date-stamped. And what did it show? Melissa, alone in the office, opening the safe, removing 3 envelopes, sliding them into her purse, and walking out, smiling. Why wasn't this used in court? Why was Caleb's dad fired? And how did Melissa stay employed? The store released a statement, "We are investigating this matter," but the internet wasn't buying it. Because Caleb's family? They had tried to sue 3 years ago. The case was dismissed for lack of evidence. So where did that footage go? Why was it hidden? That's when the assistant manager came forward, publicly. Her name? Rachel McKay. She claimed she was pressured by corporate to delete the footage. And when she refused, she was demoted, then pushed to quit. And what about Melissa? She was promoted 6 months after the incident. This wasn't just a case of bad behavior. This was a system covering for itself. But wait, it gets worse. A local news outlet found that 5 other employees, all Black or Hispanic, had been let go over missing money in the last 5 years. No white employees ever faced charges, even when they were caught breaking rules. Caleb's father, Anthony Brooks, finally spoke out. He revealed that the night before he was fired, he submitted a report detailing the missing funds, the shifts involved, and the person he suspected. It was Melissa. The report never acknowledged. In fact, he was called in the next day and terminated for insubordination. No severance, no explanation. Caleb never knew that part until now. He told a journalist, "I always thought my dad just got let go. He never talked about it. But I remember, after that, everything changed. We almost lost the house." And Melissa? When approached by reporters, she slammed the door. No comment, no apology, no explanation. But now, the DA is reviewing the footage, and an official investigation has reopened the theft case. The public demanded more. They wanted justice for Caleb, for his father, and for every employee wrongfully dismissed. Protests were held outside the store. Hashtag Justice for Brooks trended for 48 hours straight. But then, something strange happened. A Reddit user posted a scanned copy of a document. It was an internal memo from 3 years ago. The signature? Melissa Thompson. And in it, she outlined the exact strategy to dismiss Anthony Brooks, labeling him a reputational risk due to baseless complaints. That memo had never been disclosed in court. The lawyer for the Brooks family immediately filed a motion to reopen the wrongful termination suit and to press charges for concealment of evidence. Melissa's lawyer went silent. The store, panic mode. But just when everyone thought the case was finally coming to a close, a new witness came forward, an old janitor. He used to clean the office where Melissa worked, and he claimed he found shredded papers in her trash can the night of the theft. When he reported it, he was told to keep his mouth shut or lose his job. What were those papers? He says they looked like bank deposit forms, but he didn't keep them. And then he said something else, something that changed everything. He remembered Melissa wasn't alone that night. He saw someone else leave the office, late, wearing a gray hoodie, and that person wasn't on the staff list. Could it have been an accomplice? Did Melissa have help? Was she covering for someone else? Or was someone higher up involved? That's when a new theory emerged. Melissa was never the end of the line. She was the shield, the distraction, the one they let burn, while the real person behind it all stayed protected. But who was it? Who walked out of that office and disappeared from the footage? And more importantly, why did Caleb's card get flagged by the same store chain just 3 days later? Was he being watched, targeted again? And if so, what the cashier told her manager the next morning will blow this case wide open. 3 days later, Caleb's card was declined. Same store chain, different location, and for no reason. No fraud alert, no bank issue, just blocked. He walked out, confused. But when he checked his account, it was still full. The transaction was marked flagged, internal hold. Why? The answer was worse than anyone expected. The store chain had quietly added Caleb to an internal watch list. Label, potential disruptive presence, prior viral incident. This wasn't just petty, it was corporate retaliation. His family's lawyer filed an emergency injunction. And while preparing evidence for the hearing, they uncovered something hidden in the metadata of Melissa's original memo. It was authored not on her computer, but from an IP address inside regional headquarters. Melissa didn't write it alone. Someone higher up had drafted that hit piece against Caleb's father. She had just signed it. This changed everything. The real orchestrator, a name nobody had mentioned yet, Jordan Claymore, Regional Loss Prevention Director, the same man Anthony Brooks had reported the accounting errors to before being fired, and the same man whose name had mysteriously vanished from the internal email chain when Caleb's father tried to appeal. Now, it was all coming together. Jordan ran the entire internal investigations department. He had access to every camera, every safe code, every employee record. And guess what? He had personally approved Melissa's promotion 6 days after the theft. But the trap was finally closing. The old janitor, Mr. Rowland, was shown a photo lineup. He froze when he saw Jordan's face. "That's him," he said. "Guy's the guy in the hoodie that night. I remember now." He walked out just before she did. That was enough for the DA to issue a subpoena. They raided Jordan's home office. And inside, 2 hard drives, one labeled archive_2019, the other backup_cam_2. Inside the backup drive, buried in folders, was the original security footage. Unedited, time-stamped, crystal clear. It showed Jordan Claymore entering the safe room, quote, before Melissa. He opened the safe, took out the cash, left with it. Then, Melissa entered and pretended to do the theft herself. She was the decoy, the distraction, the fall girl with a promotion as payoff. So why take the risk? Because Caleb's dad, Anthony, was closing in, and Jordan needed a scapegoat to bury his tracks. Melissa volunteered, or maybe she was forced. Either way, this wasn't just a theft, it was a setup. Caleb's lawyer called it one of the most calculated acts of internal corruption we've ever seen. The footage was handed to prosecutors. Melissa was arrested first, but she cut a deal. She confessed everything, said Jordan threatened her job and her family, said the entire scheme was meant to scare Anthony Brooks into silence. Then came the biggest moment of the entire case. Jordan was arrested live on camera, walking out of corporate headquarters under arrest. He said nothing, but in his hand, he clutched a folder, label, Settlement Options, Caleb Brooks. They were going to pay him off, quietly, before the court got involved. Too late, the final hearing was televised. Caleb's father was there, so was Mr. Rowland, and so was Melissa, under arrest. The judge declared, this is not just corporate misconduct, this is targeted suppression of truth for profit, and it ends now. Anthony Brooks was awarded $2.8 million in damages. Caleb received $750,000 for defamation and discrimination. But that's not what made headlines. What did was what Caleb did next. He stood up, looked straight into the cameras, and said, to the next kid who gets told they don't belong, don't shrink, don't snap, just swipe your card, and let the truth speak louder than you ever could. Caleb, walked out to a standing ovation. Reporters, activists, former employees. Tears in people's eyes. The story spread worldwide, from local news to global justice blogs. #swipeback became a viral symbol of silent resistance. Memes, art, music videos, all inspired by Caleb. Months later, the store chain issued a public apology. They paid millions in settlements and quietly fired over a dozen executives linked to the cover-up. Caleb was offered speaking deals, book deals, even a Netflix docuseries, but he turned them all down. Instead, he used the money to launch a program called Justice Receipts, a platform where wrongfully fired employees can upload anonymous stories, backed by pro bono lawyers. The first post was from a janitor named Rowland, but the final twist? That came when Melissa, now serving 6 months for her role, was asked by a prison reporter, "Why did you do it? Why cover for him?" She stared for a moment, then said quietly, "I didn't do it for him. I did it because I was told I was disposable. But Caleb showed me maybe I wasn't." She looked down, wiped a tear, then whispered, "Tell him, thank you." If you find this story interesting, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like the video, and hit the notification button for more inciting stories.